time to gather round. Get all the kids in the neighborhood. Yeah! We'll sit in circles and clap our hands and clap, clap, clap. We'll jump up and down and scream. Yeah! It's the serial killer story hour, and it's live with Pete Altieri. That's the bald guy from Murder Metal Mayhem. Come on, kids, scream out! Serial killer story hour, yeah! Serial killer story hour, yeah, yeah! How about one more time with some balls, kids? Yeah. Serial killer story hour, yeah! Horns high, high, high.
Hell yeah. Nothing like a nice cheerful intro for a show called the Serial Killer Story Hour, but we are here. Good to see you guys. Welcome to the live, and enjoy doing these with you. Had a crazy day yesterday. That's why I decided it would have been a nail biter. As a matter of fact, my wife even made a comment that based on the time we actually did get home, I would have had time to do the live, but I don't like doing them where I'm rushed or where I'm, having to do last minute changes and stuff. So it just made more sense to just move the day. And I did see somebody in a comment said something about they had other plans for tonight. They weren't going to make it. Completely get it. And that's why you can watch it on the replay and at least be aware of what we talked about. I was talking to my wife earlier and came up with this idea. I wonder if maybe we can make it work. I need to give it some more thought. But how they have the book clubs, Well, we should have a serial killer book club type thing where maybe I'll have a couple of articles or something I can give you ahead of time to do a little read up on what we're going to be talking about, so that this way you're more familiar with the case and I can maybe talk about it from different angles instead of just the bare bones basics, of the story. So it might be a fun way to get you guys involved with me and talking back and forth about some of these cases, because there's some really good ones out there. And it wouldn't be something that would take you that much time. I mean, I get it, everybody's busy, but I figured for anybody that's like me and retired and just, don't mind spending a few minutes doing something. And it would be, I think it would be fun. So I'll keep you posted on that. And if you have any ideas or you like that idea, I see Karis, Voice of Astrology, says she loves it. So that's super cool. That's cool. And see, my mom is here too. What's up, Mom? And let's run through the list here. We got Donna Lembo, of course, the moderator and the amazing supporter of Murder Metal Mayhem. We got Sam Panther in here. We got Snowpia. Let's see. Carla Grun. And Catherine S. Yeah, that was great to see Catherine S. in here. She'd been in the desert. I think she was on a horse with no name. I'm not quite sure, but she was completely MIA. And she would touch base every now and then when she came in where she was camping with her, I'm assuming with her family. I don't know. She was out in the desert. And, just hardcore. And then coming in to shower, every now and then, and had signal and could email me or post a comment. It was great that she was keeping in touch. So glad to see her here. And of course, Misleading Evidence, Alicia. Awesome. I'm supposed to be doing a live with Alicia's channel coming up with her on her channel. So that would be cool. So she's been at it for a while, but as you see, if you check out her Misleading Evidence, but she's, going to be going at it hardcore. I'm anxious to see what she does. All right. Well, let's see. Do we have Say Carla's saying it would be awesome to do like a book club kind of thing. Again, I'm not going to give you like 3 different novels to read in a week. I'm talking about it maybe an article or 2 or a Murderpedia entry, which are really helpful. If you're not familiar with Murderpedia, it's a good one. Okay, Donna Lembo says a book club format is a good idea, and I'm telling you, Donna, she's calling the shots, so I think we're going to do it. We just have to figure out a cool way to do it. I'll give it a little more thought, but I think what we were just talking about, I think to me makes sense to do it that way. And then C Ford. Oh, cat attack. All right. What's up? I think that's what that says. All right. Well, we're talking about doing the serial killer story hour, of course. That's where we that's where we go and talk about one specific serial killer and what they did. Tonight we're going to be doing. I don't know if I've done a duo on this yet. I've done tons of them on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. Man, we did. I think every one you could think of, but nonetheless, this one tonight is a good one, and this is going out to our friends over in the UK because those guys are awesome, and we're requesting some more UK serial killers. I did do the Joanne Dennehy one, and we've done a lot of cool things with that. So there's a lot of things popping here. I think we just stay at it and have fun. Like I said, I'm not really caring about numbers, but it would be nice if eventually it kind of caught fire and people wanted to check it out on a regular basis every Tuesday night. But this week, of course, we're doing it on Wednesday. And I used AI to do the thumbnail as I've been using it. And man, that depiction of Fred and Rose West on that thumbnail is just straight wicked. I mean, that really turned out good. And that amazes me how that stuff works. But I've been really using it to its potential, the best that I can pull off. And there's more to learn, but it's fun. And I've been using it, I think, in a right way. Okay. And I got a new intro that we're going to roll out probably the next live I do this weekend. I've been working on it's definitely a rocker. I know I've done some different genres, but I'm finally starting to get a little bit better at the AI music and getting it closer to what I want. So it's cool. And I was able to take my vocal style and sound from Low 12 albums to create a vocal profile for AI so I could put my vocals on something that AI writes. And the one that I tried just to see how it worked, I'll tell you what, I mean, it was uncanny. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I mean, I could definitely see how somebody could think, wow, that's Pete from Low 12, So it's recognizable. And so I might do more with that. So really just enjoying it. And I want to do more. It's just, I got other things to do, working on the book. The book's still coming out good. I had a little bit of a lull in it only because I've been dealing with so many different tests. I got a surgery coming up, the one that was canceled. They'll be doing that here in the next probably couple weeks. So I've got that going on and a lot of different tests I've had to do. That's why yesterday was partly kind of crazy, but then I wound up getting myself a van, which I needed to be able to get to my appointments so that my caregiver can drive the van. And I got good, reliable wheels here at the house all the time. So that was why I was uncertain of how long that was all going to take, but turned out good. I see my friend A.R. Hayes. I was just talking to this joker earlier, and he's like rolling out of bed, and it was 11 o'clock. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, well, shoot, it's 2 hours earlier where he is in Las Vegas. So, but still 9. But he said he'd been up all night. It sounded like it, but it was still AR there underneath the grogginess. But great to see him. And yeah, the meds. I had another issue I had was I'm not going to get all into it here, but the all the meds that I take, one of them, um, there's withdrawals if I run out of it, and I ran into that these last few days. I've been in a bad way, and as soon as I got the meds today, within an hour of taking it, I was completely fine. So, no, not completely, probably 95%. And then by the time we were getting ready to eat dinner, my wife said, "You want to do this live?" I said, "Yeah, I'm feeling good." I mean, I it's like nothing ever happened. So really, really crazy how much medicine can really greatly affect people. With talking about people that drink and all that, you got to be so careful. And here I am saying, "Hey, I messed up," but yeah, it was partially my fault, partially the VA's fault. But the VA's been so good to me, I'm not going to cry about some you know crazy withdrawal attacks, but definitely would rather not relive that night again. All right, so here we are. We're talking about Fred and Rose West. If you're not familiar with these two, anytime you talk about the husband, wife, or the partner crimes, their name comes up. The Moors murderers. That was the other one I was going to do if I didn't do this one, and I'm definitely going to do that one. That's a good one. And then the Nilsson case, the dude that was flushing the bodies down the toilet. Yeah, that one's crazy. I happen to be drinking coffee from my Murder Metal Mayhem travel mug. So these things are great at the store. And then I got my Serial Killer Story Hour shirt that I got. A lot of people really like this design. I know my mom said she likes this design. Again, I can't do art like this, but AI can and does it the way I tell it to. So it would be just the same thing as if I could do it. I mean, in my opinion, but that's another argument for another day. But all right, let's get to it. Here, let me pull up some notes. All right, so these guys are very notorious because they're responsible for at least 12 murders between 1967 and 1987. So 20 years of this. So they really kept it cool up to a certain point, like they all do. Fred died by suicide in 95. Rosemary's doing life. And, their crimes, are centered around a couple different properties, but primarily 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester. So that's kind of an infamous address there in the UK. So now Fred, he was born in 1941 in such an interesting name. I always love these out of US names of towns, but Much Markle. Much as in Much, and then Markle, Marcle. Just really Much Markle. Weird name, but cool, very English in Herefordshire. Grew up in poverty on a farm, tough life. Father was big time disciplinarian, overprotective mom, kind of classic serial killer upbringing. Um, and unfortunately, exposed to probably some things I shouldn't say on here for fear they just completely take it down. But let's just say relations within the family and relations with pets of the family. Okay, I'll leave it there. From a young age, this was going on. Then he suffers head injuries. Now, this is a very, very common thing if you're into the researching about serial killers, is that a lot of them have had head injuries. Richard Ramirez, I mean, Gacy. Um, you could go on and on and on about stories of, car accidents and lots of different things that really changed the trajectory there. Did something with the wiring upstairs because that person was definitely acting more violent and more not like themselves, and led to some really horrific crimes. So that was from a motorcycle accident when he was 17. And definitely people figured that played a big part in what he turned into. So then you got his love of his life, Rosemary West. She got those funny big glasses on. I cracked up that AI really nailed the glasses, which was good. Born November 29th in 1953 in Northam, Devon, and the fifth of seven kids there in another poor household. Now, this one is just really wacky, and I can't believe that anybody actually did this unless they didn't know that the mother was pregnant, because her mother went through electroconvulsive therapy while she was pregnant with Rosemary. Now, that definitely sounds like a bad idea, and I don't know how that would happen. I really don't, unless it was, some backwoods type medical because she was poor. I don't know, but that's awful. And I can't imagine that wouldn't have done something with the wiring up there. And also that there was apparently SA going on between her father and her, and it had been going on for years. And her father was also a paranoid schizophrenic. So you're talking about an incredibly vile upbringing, both with Fred and Rosemary here. Very similar stories, unfortunately. But they met, kind of a classic, thing here. They met at age 15 at a bus stop in Cheltenham. So kind of romantic there, Fred at the bus stop, and that's where they met. So now these two were really, really disturbing when it comes to the sexual part of this, and I'm going to have to seriously be careful here with some of this. It just sucks that we can't just say whatever we need to say, but it is what it is. I love how the other big channels, though, they can say whatever they want. But the smaller channels like this one, no, not so much. So the Wests together engaged in extreme SA, including bondage, torture, mutilation, like whatever, all of the above, basically. Victims were often lured to their home, sexually assaulted, and murdered. Probably just screwed up there with that, but anyway. Um, and this is very common, especially with the female in the what we call, or they call, I should say, because I don't talk like all fancy, but folie à deux, which is a shared madness between the two. They like fed off each other. It's really weird. And these two, I would say, definitely fall into that. Some say that Rosemary was the more driving force behind a lot of this SA part, which is disturbing to say the least. So they're getting them home. That's how the Moors murderers work too. You get the female there. People get their guard down. They think, oh, it's a woman, not going to do anything. And, obviously they were wrong. And then they buried bodies in the cellar and the garden, of course, in the UK, that's like the backyard, I believe, of 25 Cromwell Street, dubbed the House of Horrors. So had to be like a Gacy situation, when that happened in Chicago, where you had, you know, the whole side of the block basically roped off, and they basically had to excavate the house to access the crawl space. So I'm sure that was, going on here. So it's quite the event. And the crimes were often committed for their gratification, of course. And a lot of times, Fred was doing the photography and videography during these assaults. So these two are just beyond disgusting and just vile human beings. So here's kind of a timeline of how this went down. In 1971, now this was the one that was very, very controversial. We'll talk about that later. It was actually Fred's daughter, Fred's stepdaughter, Charmaine West. Um, they say was murdered by Rosemary because Fred was in jail at the time of the death, and that was a really cool. I watched like a documentary about that specific thing, and it was really cool. So if you're into this case, you could find out more about that. And then there was a lodger who they assaulted and murdered in 1973, Linda Go. And then multiple women. There's really kind of open ended because they're not 100% sure. From 1973 to 1979, and this would be, one that escaped, Carolyn Owens, Lucy Partington, and others. So there's, like I said, there's a number of women involved here. And then 1987 was the last one. They murdered their very own daughter, Heather West, which is just really messed up. Buried her under the patio, and her disappearance triggered the whole investigation. And there was some rumor that, that Fred had said, if they come looking for you, I'll tell them you're two tiles down by two tiles over or something like that. And he was pointing to the patio in the backyard with the big, ceramic, tile or whatever it was, but the ceramic type material. And that was, you wondered, is that where somebody is? Is that you're giving me like grid coordinates? What's up? So, but that was rumored, but I'm sure that led to them checking it out, which is what they did and how they found her. So yeah, they're finding victims. According to everything I've read, I went to Wikipedia, I went to Murderpedia, and I went out just cruising around. Especially a case like this, it's easy to find stuff for the most part, and it's modern enough where there's pretty decent documentation. And that's kind of what I wanted to put together to give you an idea of what's happening here. But uncertain on the number of victims between 73 and 79, but I mean, this went on for 20 years. And the problem with the Charmaine West death was, as I mentioned, they were trying to do everything they could to get Rose involved with this. But basically, it was, Fred that was saying, it's just me. She had nothing to do with it, which, of course, they knew that was BS. But that just kind of almost prompted them to keep just digging and digging. And they were just determined to get something on her so she could go down for this too, because they did think, as I was saying earlier, that, she may have been more the driving force behind this. I mean, he was the goofball with the camera and the video, but that could have been basically his only role. And she was doing the beat down. I've got a book on those two. I've not read it. So many books I have that I bought that I just wanted to have, but that's one I have of those two and their crimes. But yeah, if you're interested in this case, there is some good stuff out there. February of 94 is when they were arrested. So after police investigated Heather's disappearance. So the one daughter, the one that was theirs, and then because they were able to determine that Charmaine died while Fred was actually locked up, is how Rosemary got nailed for that one. And so that's where you have the two of their own children because it was Fred's stepdaughter. So nonetheless, these are human beings, and Heather was the one that was their child, and that's the one they found under the patio. So pretty gruesome stuff. And it was kind of interesting. I watched this one documentary about them, and it shows Fred like in a waiting area, and she's coming into the room with like the police escort, and he gets up to like say something to her, and she just completely snubs him and just walks right by him. And then the narrator had said that she had nothing to do with him. She didn't want any part of it. He was admitting to everything, so she was pretty much just going to let him dig his own grave, which is what he did. But then again, that's how they got her on this. So that was good police work, that they were able to forensically determine the time of the wound or the time of death, by going backwards in the paperwork and all that. So good work, and that was in the late '60s, early '70s. So that's impressive. That's impressive. Now Fred commits suicide in prison. I should have just. I can't win for this standard stuff. And he's charged with the 12 murders. Okay, but he offed himself in '95. Just he was lovesick over Rosemary up until his death. He wished, he tried to reach out to her, and I don't believe they ever communicated again. I think that he just, and he was just miserable. I mean, who wouldn't be in prison? And that's what happened. Now in '95, also Rosemary gets convicted of 10 murders, so they go ahead and get her in on some of these other ones, maybe as they uncovered more video work and photography. If she's the one, brutalizing these women, or people, then I think they were all women. Yeah, they're all women. Um, she was on video possibly, and that's how they're able to get her on those. So that's interesting here. I didn't see that at first. So she gets it on 10. She gets life imprisonment with a whole life order, which is very rare over in Europe. Here they hand those out like they hand out candy, for these guys, the no possibility of parole. But they did it there. The whole life order is what they call it. So that's cool. So good on you, UK, for keeping her butt in the cell. But but yeah, she is incarcerated at prison Newhall in Wakefield, in England, and she maintains her innocence, which is kind of funny. And I had some pictures here, but they really don't show a whole lot. But let me do something here. Hang on one second. See how I'm doing on time. Okay, something was weird here, but I think we're good. Okay, let me see. I'm going to show you a picture of 25 Cromwell. Okay, I got some good stuff here. Let me share this with you. Let's see. Here we go. So here's some pictures I thought you guys would like. You can see the first one here on the left, top left, is the where the patio would have been out here. So that was where a lot of that stuff was going on in here too. So you had underneath the house as well as under the patio. But they had a dirt cellar, so it's not like most of them today are concrete. This is back in the day. Let's see. You got crowds gathering around the around it. Get this little kid hanging out watching it. That's kind of messed up. I don't know what is it. Oh, he's probably looking at the truck. I guess that would be cool as a little kid. Then you could see the ruins of it when they tore it down. So it was really just within this block here, you know. And then there's some after shots too. You could see here this one on the left where it's white. That would be what they put in its place. So it's just impressive how builders can do that kind of stuff. You know, I can't imagine how hard that would be with the age of the building to keep that from collapsing. You know, especially this one that's on its own. So awesome work, awesome work. All right, I think that's it on the pictures. So you could just nice. Love to visit over there one time. Oh, here's one of the patio you can see out back. So this is where the heather was found. So, all right, very good. All right. Here's one from Voice of Astrology. She has I think it's just more of a comment. Certainly, that Rosemary was not the inspiration for Bobby Sherman's Because Love Grows Where Rosemary Goes, and Nobody Knows Like Me. Interesting. Yeah, probably not. Probably not, based on how she looked or how what she looked like. Kind of strange. And then the what kind of person she was. So probably not. I think Bobby would have had better. Better head on his shoulders than that. And she says that he became a police officer. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So let's see. Where were we with this tale of these two? There's whack jobs. I think that was basically it. I'm just kind of scanning some of this extra stuff I had. Um, Oh, it said here, here's one I didn't mention. Fred built a torture chamber in the cellar of 25 Cromwell Street. So using his abilities to build, I guess, builds this torture chamber. I've never seen a picture of it, but I'm sure it's messed up. And then Rosemary also worked as a sex worker, sometimes with Fred watching or filming. I do remember something about that, where he would film it and stuff. And I'm not even going to go there, but that's just disturbing. All right. But let's see. Yeah, his method of departure from the world was a bed sheet or something like that. Okay, very good. I think we covered what I wanted to cover, and I always try to shoot for about the 30-minute mark to be done with that stuff. So that worked out just about perfectly. Very good. Well, what did you guys think about that? I mean, what do you think a victim? Do you agree what I was saying that the victims would be more apt to um, succumb to their request to go somewhere, get in a car, if there's a woman there with the guy? What do you think? Does anybody agree, disagree, think something else about it? I mean, I can't see where it wouldn't let the guard down. Now the Moores murderers, they did it with, she was alone in the car, and he was like on a motorcycle, like a mile behind her, and that's how they did it. So the guy wasn't even involved until she got the person in the car, and then took him to some predetermined spot, and then that's they would link up there. So a little different. And then you had the Ken and Barbie case. That's a very controversial one. Probably do it eventually. The one up in Canada with the couple that was doing the same kind of stuff like this. Very similar to the Wests, but not quite as disturbing, but still disturbing. So here, Redacted Meanie says it makes the victim feel more comfortable if a woman is there. I think that's why it's so evil they work together. Yeah, especially you got a woman doing this to another woman. I mean, I would think like, I mean, I know I'm a dude, but I'm just saying like that's got to be messed up. I mean, it takes a certain kind of something not connected for somebody to be able to do that. A woman doing that to another woman, to me, that I just adds a little twist to the knife, so to speak. God, that's horrible. It really is. But you're right. And these serial killers have different ways of doing it. Look how Gacy did it. Gacy did it a completely different way. He had his business, right? The PDM contractors, and he had business cards. So if he met a young boy that he liked or a young man that he liked, he'd give him a business card, offer him a job. His office was at his house. I mean, it's like easy, like, fish in a barrel. I mean, it was just too easy. So these guys are amazing at adapting to what they have, their skill set, and it makes sense. That's why I've always said it's a shame that these people do such horrible things because they're so smart. A lot of them, not all of them, but some of these people we talk about are very, very intelligent, but there's a screw loose somewhere and it's not working right. But what the good they could have done had they not had that problem. And the whole nurture versus nature and how much, I mean, you have to think with these two, Fred and Rosemary, both brought up in just abysmal conditions and being abused and all the horrible things they were exposed to and the electroshock therapy. I mean, that's just wow. It's just a kind of like a ready mix for two serial killers to pop up when it's stirred well. I don't know. It's just terrible. All right, let's see. Yeah, here's a good comment too. Redacted Meanie says, "I guess predators adapt easily. They do. They do. And remember that a lot of these, not all, but a lot of these serial killers are, you know, they have no feelings, so they have to learn by watching. So they'll be, in tune to, let's say, at a funeral. How do people act when they go to a funeral? Because if somebody has no feeling, they would just not understand why everybody's all somber. Or at a baseball game that it's okay to yell out, you know what I mean? And they just don't understand it. So they have to learn it and they get really good. They're like actors. They're really good at being able to be different things. Like, the BTK killer, uh, Bind, Torture, Kill, Dennis Rader, he was all big on that. He was really big on that. And, these guys are, it's fascinating when you really dig into it and find out a little bit more about, what makes some of these guys tick and the commonality of the things that pop up between them. Like in this case tonight, two people just, raised very much the same way and just met up at a bus stop and just perpetuated it. I mean, they certainly didn't help matters by what the hell they were doing. But, these are like two feral humans being thrown into the world. I mean, I don't know what the hell anybody expected of them, but just absolutely horrendous. Let's see here. Snowpia says, I'm interested in what their siblings have to say about the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You know, a lot of these people involved in these stories, they'll do anything they can to get the heck away from it. So I can't imagine it like with the Idaho 4 case, some of these people in the periphery are just going to be forever mentioned when this comes up. And it's only because some of the stuff they did was kind of shady. And we could have an argument about that for another day. But there's other cases that you could easily name where it's very similar type of thing. And it would be interesting to hear from some of them, but I think most times they're like, we don't want to hear from anybody ever again. Thank you. Good night. They just don't want to be part of that story. And I'm sure some of it's shame. You know, you got a brother or son or daughter that's done just horrible things. And, you know, you have to deal with that. When you Google search, you know, the name, you see this flurry of articles about, you know, incarcerations and trials. And, you know, it's just, it's got to be rough. It's got to be rough, I'm sure. But yeah, I would be curious to see, um, you know, what they say about it too. Now, before I forget, um, I did want to mention I got some new designs in the store. I got a Santa one. I need to get one for myself because it's badass. It's like a Murder Metal Mayhem Santa. Okay, he looks cool. He's horns high. He's got the sleigh. He's got instead of reindeers, I went with goats. So he's got this goat sleigh. I mean, it's badass, and he's got a Murder Metal Mayhem shirt on, I think. And so that's a perfect Christmas gift there for yourself. I mean, I'm going to look and see if they got a sale going on this weekend because their sale was still going on, and it was just like killer deals on some of this merch. So I need to get a Santa one for myself. But yeah, that you can check that out with the link there. I've got that in the episode description as well. Um, the new show, of course, is what we're watching now, the Serial Killer Story Hour. But I thought I would do something, go back to the U.S. for another case of very fascinating, mysterious, and very, very macabre story of John List and what he did to his family. And this guy lived in this mansion that he couldn't afford. And it's a wild story. And he laid out the victims in this big ballroom. And, you know, and then turned up this classical, imagine how creepy this would be. Big giant house. Nobody's in there, but these, I think there was 5 of them laid out in the ballroom on the floor, and then this music blaring on the speakers was classical music, like really loud. So I can't imagine how freaky that would have been walking into that room with that going on. But that's what he did, and he was gone. And so we'll talk about how they captured him many years later. Fascinating case, but John List. And if you want to go do some digging, you know, get kind of in gear for what we were talking about with the book club, which I would think would be nothing more than you taking a look on the internet about these killers before we do it, so that you might want to have a couple of ideas you want to throw at me in the middle of it. You know, we could do that, you know. And I wouldn't even be opposed to having, you know, you guys on some of these with me. That might be fun too, is have somebody, you know, that comes on, does a video with me, and we could do a live together. You know, very easy to do with StreamYard. So that would be another possibility of what we could do there. But John List, not a serial killer, okay? Not a serial killer, because he just killed them and then he left and that was it, as far as we know. But well worth putting him in that show just because of who he is and how they got him. That's the good one. Anytime I could do something pro law enforcement, I want to try to do that. I mean, I hate beating up on law enforcement like in Idaho 4 and Delphi. I mean, God dang, ridiculous. But there's a lot of you know, good police work going on out there, and I commend those that pick a very difficult profession. That's for sure. So so yeah, so join us next Tuesday. Hopefully, no drama. I don't know about my surgery when it's going to be, but last time they were shooting for was Fridays, so I don't think it's going to change us at all for this. And for my regular lives, I was just going to do the live from the hospital room. I thought that'd be cool, so that might be fun. All right, and if you want to do the the membership. We got the Hornside Club and the Mayhem Squad. Appreciate those that are members. You guys are awesome, and want to try to keep improving the membership. What they could do and perks for them. So, right. And then if you just want to help out for free, you could just make sure you like this video. And if you could do the, what is that called now? The hype. Yeah, the hype. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I just know every now and then I see a thing where I can hype it and I'm like, yeah, let's do it, But anybody that's more knowledgeable about it, you can put that up in the comments. So Karis is asking here, what surgery? Well, what they're going to have to do, Karis, is where my necrotizing fasciitis started. They have to go in and kind of, because the hole from that's left from all of this is very small. They can't get it to completely heal, and it needs to be completely healed, so this can be done with. But while they're doing that, there were some, tests and stuff that I had to go through to be able to do the surgery. And so it's just to close up that opening so that it doesn't cause me any problems. It's going to be painful, I'm sure, for a few days, but they'll dope me up enough where I should be fine. But it's like my lower back area is where it started. So kind of like my ground zero for the necrotizing fasciitis. So this is kind of in a way, it is a good thing. I'm not saying in a way, it is a good thing because it's putting a lock on that door of, okay, this crap is over with now. I'm done with the necrotizing fasciitis for my lifetime. So that's why it'll be good to do it, even though the short term is got to be in a hospital for a couple days. But I'll have my phone, I'll have my computer. I shouldn't be really much different at all, except the decor might be a bedpan or a hospital tray in the corner, that kind of thing. So, all right. Oh, HVAC works. What's up? What's up? I see you in the comments. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, almost over. Yeah, I mean this is one, and then I have one more to take care of the hernia that I developed. It's very uncomfortable and in a bad area to deal with, and so it's starting to hurt, and I'm definitely sick of it. But that should be it. That and then I'm done. So it's getting really close. It's getting really close. But I'm wearing the prosthetic tonight. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I got the prosthetic. It's hard to see. You can see the top of it here. But yeah, I've been wearing it. And my home health care worker, he had me taking some steps. So today, I was doing like the foxtrot in here. I mean, I was just moving. I was about ready to throw down some cardboard and just break dance, just start popping and locking. But I held back and I just stuck to the foxtrot. But no, he had me moving, forward and backward. And he's a football coach. My home health care worker, his son. Well, he's a owner of a small team in the town nearby where I live, and he's helping a lot of kids out that need to be off the streets and not in trouble. And so he's doing great work. They just won the state championship, and he's my home health care worker, and he used to be a quarterback. So this guy's like, he's definitely put me to work. And so he had my wheelchair behind me, and he's like, all right, take a step back. And I stepped back, and then I kept moving each of my legs, and it was fine. I mean, I feel really good with the footing of this. And then the other cool thing that I found out today I can do is I could take this off without having to put my foot under something heavy to be able to pull this thing off. I've figured out a way that I don't need to do that. So two big things today. Took some steps forward and backward, and did a did a little trickery there to get the thing off without having to deal with putting it under like a sofa or something like that. So yeah, it's starting to get better. And now that I got this nice, I love Hondas. Not that I'm getting paid by them, but I love those vehicles. And so yeah, I got a Honda Odyssey, and if I want to do it, we're still kind of mulling it about. But the VA will put the scooter lift and stuff in there if I want to do that. So, but yeah, so definitely digging it. I never buy new just because I can't afford it, but it's a nice use, just a few years old. So definitely. My mom, now you're making me all emotional here. My mom says maybe you'll save a dance with me. Of course, of course, mom. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. That's why I said in my post earlier, I was just like sat down for a second, like, oh, man, I've been busy, and that's so things going on, and it's wild. But I'm really anxious to start working on some fiction. Once I'm caught up to real time in the book, which is getting close, I'm a couple months out, and then I'll be at a standstill in the book because my life is still going on. And the way the book is going to end is needs to be played out a little bit more before I can just end it. So I'm going to have to put that on the back burner until I get that figured out, and my prosthetic walking and all that stuff becomes a thing. Then that'll be the way it's going to finish up. But I've got some really cool ideas. I'm going to do a book. I was going to do this right before I got sick, called Chasms of Chaos. And I wanted to have like a sampler of my books in one. So what I thought I would do, I have 4 short story collections. So I was going to take 2 stories from each. So there's 8. And then I was going to take a chapter from each of my novels and make them like a standalone, like a short story. And so that's 10. And then I was going to write at least one more, just a brand new one, and then release it as Chasms of Chaos, which is kind of like a greatest hits, but all in one, novels and all in one shot, where people could try it out and see if they like it. And so that's my first order of business. That's where I left off right before I got sick a year and a half ago. So this thing definitely, really has altered my life considerably. But hopefully, it'll really end up like, it'll end up like I hope it will. Where I'm standing up and walking around and going to visit my parents and just being able to resume life again. So I'm trying very hard. I've had some rough go of it, but there's so many people worse off than me. I just watched a documentary about Rikers Island in New York. Oh my gosh. If you want to feel like, man, that my life's not so bad, go watch that. And man, they had these people's stories of what it was like to go in there and fighting to the death. I mean, just really crazy. So that really made me think, like, man, I know my time has been tough, but I wasn't dealing with that. So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, I like prison documentaries, they fascinate me. So, but yeah, that place is rough. And my dad used to work in a prison as a parole officer, so I've been familiar with that world through him, at the dinner table. So, and when I was working before I retired, I was doing training in, not all the time, but I did it a couple times. in medium security prisons, training, like a week-long training for the inmates getting ready to get out. And I did that, during a week-long class, which was kind of crazy to do, because these are some pretty rough people. But yeah, I think that here I see Donna says Rikers is tough. I had friends who were captains, earlier officers there. Yeah. Anybody that knows anything about Rikers, it's not good, right, Donna? I mean, it's just an awful, awful. Yeah, I think you're right, Mom, because it was on the East River, which would be in Bronx. So that makes sense. I was thinking about that. It's funny you say this because I was watching that thing earlier, and it talked about it was on the East River, and I thought that was where the Bronx was. So that would make sense to me that he would be fishing there. So that's cool. That's cool. Well, very cool. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about Fred and Rosemary West? I mean, they're just awful. But John List will not disappoint next week. He's a weird one. I've got so many I want to do. There's so many I want to do. This will never, ever run out of options of stories to do. So if you like hearing me tell you stories about serial killers, then we'll just keep doing it. Okay, that's fun. As long as it's still fun, I'll keep doing it. If it becomes like a job, then maybe not so much. Okay, we'll make that promise to each other. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for being here tonight, and anybody that's done the like and subscribe, that's always helpful. And anything you want to do like that helps the channel for free. That's a good thing. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll see you next time. And until then, horns high.
He got you fired up and thinking you earned a nice cold beer or beverage of choice. Or if the greenery is what you dig, I hope it's moist. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a word in the comments. It helps the video grow. Hell yeah, tell your friends you rode with her metal man today. Spread the word like a case of the clap in a trailer park. We all know that hussy who can get the whole part scratching. Hell yeah, tell your friends you rode with murder, metal, May, and today. Spread the word like a case of the clap in a trailer park. Like a case of clack in a trailer park.